This is TWiT.
Cisco's Talos Group have just published their annual cybersecurity year in review. And the thing that caught my eye there was their breakdown of the most targeted vulnerabilities. Before we look at the top 10, here's what the Talos Group said about their findings. They said in 2023, cyber threat actors exploited older software vulnerabilities in common applications. In many cases, the vulnerabilities were more than, wow, it's hard to even read this. The vulnerabilities were more than 10 years old, consistent with CISA's finding that adversaries have targeted old security flaws more than newly disclosed recent ones in recent years. In fact, 4 of the top 5 most targeted vulnerabilities we observed were also cited by CISA as being frequently exploited in prior years, further highlighting this point. This underscores the need for entities to regularly install software updates, as many of these systems were likely unpatched given the age of the targeted vulnerabilities, meaning they're so old they obviously never received a patch since then, which, right. Okay, so they said the top targeted vulnerabilities were found in common applications like Microsoft Office. This finding is also substantiated by CISA, which noted that actors in 2022 prioritize CVEs that are more prevalent in their targets' networks. In other words, they're going to attack the ones that are there, right? Adversaries likely prioritize targeting widespread vulnerabilities because the exploits developed for such CVEs can have long-term use and high impact. That's a good point. If you're targeting, if you're able to target and exploit a very old vulnerability, that says the system has never been updated since then, which further says it probably won't ever be again. So if you can get in using that, you could probably get to stay a long time. They said, lastly, most of the vulnerabilities on our list would cause substantial impact if exploited. Right, they're all like in the high 9s in the CVSS score, and a lot of them are remote code execution. So, ouch. They said with 6 of these top 10 receiving a maximum vulnerability risk score of 100 from Cisco Kenna, and 7 receiving the highest critical score from the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, CVSS. Most of the CVEs are also listed in CISA's Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog, their KVE, which is meant to inform users on the security flaws for which they should prioritize remediation. The high frequency of targeting systems against these CVEs, paired with their severity, underscores the risk to unpatched systems. So I have in the show notes the chart from Cisco's Talos Group. What's astonishing is that this year, 2023 we're talking about, the number one most often exploited vulnerability with a high CVSS of 9.3 is CVE 2017-0199. That's right, 2017. This is a vulnerability that is
6 years old.
Yes, 6 years ago, this thing was found, and we talked about it on the podcast extensively. This affects Microsoft Office and WordPad. It's a remote code execution vulnerability that leverages RTF files and a flaw in Microsoft's equation editor, which is exploited through Microsoft Word.
Oh, my God.
I know.
Oh,
for 6 years, Leo, it's remote code execution. It's a CVSS of 9.3, the maximum vulnerability score of 100, and it is the number one most exploited vulnerability.
Yeah, but I have to point out it's not the oldest on this list.
No, it's not.
Not by a long shot, in fact.
No, it's not.
Holy cow.
And what's absent from these discussions and from my ability to imagine are any details about the machines which are today still not only running Microsoft's Office software from 2017, unpatched even once since then, but also have no other AV defense of any kind in place, even Microsoft's free solution. And this is not just one lonely abandoned system somewhere forgotten in a closet. The exploit enters through an email attachment. So the systems being compromised not only have no defenses of any kind and haven't received a single update in 6 years, but they are in active use. Somebody is receiving email on them and clicking a link to get themselves exposed to this. And it's the number one most often thing that happens. Like,
oh my gosh.
No, where are these systems? Whose are they? Okay, I want to take a guess at the number 2 problem among the top 10. Believe it or not, it also has the same high CVSS of 9.3, and its CVE was also issued back in 2017.
Oh my God.
CVE 2017 11882. And that beauty is brought to us by Microsoft's Exchange Server. Now, obviously, the same thing applies as above, although an unattended machine running Exchange Server might well be in some dusty, old, forgotten back closet somewhere. And lately, I've been pushing the idea that automatic updates would solve many of the problems we're seeing in our industry today. But Microsoft pioneered the idea of automatic updates. They're enabled by default and have been for a very long time. Yet somehow, a huge number of machines, enough to put their exploit at number 1 in the first place in the ranking, are still not being patched. They've remained unpatched. So it would really be interesting to look at case studies of the specific machines and the environments that surround them that allow 6-year-old Microsoft flaws to remain present today. Who has these things? Where are they? We don't know. But Leo, we are going to know who's helping to support this podcast and the TWiT network.
Very important. We would not want to forget such important people. You didn't mention that there is a CVE from 2010 from Apple. Safari.
Yeah, Safari.
But don't worry, it's only a 9.3. Nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
There's a CVE from 2012 from Microsoft Office. GZIP 2012. I mean, some of these are pretty dang old. It's kind of incredible.
It does demonstrate what a problem we have with
legacy.
Software that isn't getting updated.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey there, Scott Wilkinson here. In case you hadn't heard, Home Theater Geeks is back. Each week, I bring you the latest audio-video news, tips and tricks to get the most out of your AV system, product reviews, and more. You can enjoy Home Theater Geeks only if you're a member of Club TWiT, which costs $7 a month, or you can subscribe to Home Theater Geeks by itself for only $2.99 a month. I hope you'll join me for a weekly dose of home theater geekitude.